Hello, in this video, let us sketch a graph of a parabola. And when we sketch the graph of a parabola, we're looking for three things: the y-intercept, the x-intercept, and the vertex. So here is the example. Let's say we wish to sketch the graph of this parabola. F of x is x to the 2 minus 2x plus 5. Now we can see right away that the front coefficient is 1, is positive 1. So that means the a is positive, which means our parabola is going to be opening up. So we will see something like this. Now, before we get through and fill in the information for all of these data points, let's have a look at the calculator to get an educated guess. So here is the equation already typed in: x to the 2 minus 2x plus 5. It's the same equation. Now let's look at the picture. So here comes the picture, and we can see that it will have a y-intersect. We will have a vertex, but we don't have any places where the u-shape crosses the x-axis, which means that the x-intersects are imaginary numbers. So when we are working with our step 2 here, looking for the x-intersects, we are going to expect to have imaginary solutions, not real solutions. So let's go through it and fill in the information. To find the x-intersects, we need to make, to find the y-intercept, we need to make the x equal 0. And if x happens to be 0 in our original equation, that means we have y equals 0 squared minus 2 times 0 plus 5, which makes 5, because that's a 0, 5. So we have the y-intersect of 5. And we can make a little diagram already and a little bit below. And let's collect our information on the grid. So here is the coordinate axes, the y-axis, the x-axis, and we know that the y-intersect is now going to be 5, so we count 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is here, somewhere here. Okay, now the next step is in our process is to find the x-intersect. Now for the x-intersect, we make the y equal to 0. And if we do that, that means we are solving 0 is x to the 2 minus 2x plus 5. This is a quadratic equation. The highest power is 2. And to solve a quadratic equation, we use quadratic formula. Quadratic formula is negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. We could also solve this equation by other means perhaps, but if we don't, such as factoring or something else, completing the squares. But if we look at the question and we don't immediately see what the solution is, and it happens to be a quadratic, then quadratic formula will always find the solution. So this is always a good bet that if we run across a quadratic equation at any point, this formula will find us the solutions, no matter what they are. If they are whole numbers, positive, negative, fractions, decimals, even imaginary numbers, this will get it. So let's use it. The a is the front coefficient, that's a 1. The b is the middle coefficient, that's negative 2. C is the constant, the last number, that's 5. Substituting these numbers into our quadratic formula, let's type them in. We will get minus, then the b, which is negative 2, plus minus square root negative 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5 divided by 2 times 1. Now, 2 negatives in the front make a plus, that's a plus 2. Negative 2 squared is positive 4, and then 4 times 5 is 20, negative 20. Here, that's a minus, divided by 2 times 1, which is 2. So that's 2 plus minus square root of 4 minus 20 is negative 16. So once we see that we have negatives under the square root, that also confirms that we are going to get imaginary answers. Each time we have a negative under the square root, that turns into the I, or imaginary. So that means we have 2 plus minus square root of 16 is 4, but then there is I outside of it, and then both numbers are divided by 2. So the first divided by 2, second divided by 2, and that makes 1 plus minus 2I. So these are my x-intersect. That's the x-intersect. And it happens to be imaginary, which means I will never see it on the x-axis. So our answer to what is our x-intersect, the answer is none. And the calculator confirms it because it gave us a picture with no x-intersects. Now the vertex, to find the vertex, we need the x and y coordinate. The x coordinate is negative b over 2a. That's the same as the front piece of a quadratic formula, negative b over 2a. If we type that in, we will get the x value. Well, so here is the third piece, which is the vertex, and the x is negative b. Well, we have done this work right here. That's our negative b divided by 2 times a, which came out to be 2 over 2, which is 1. So our vertex has x value of 1. What's the y? Well, the y can be found by going back and substituting 1 into our original equation, because this equation finds all the y numbers if we know the x. So if x happens to be 1, let's see what happens. So the original was x to the 2 minus 2x plus 5. Substituting ones, substituting ones for all the x's, we'll get 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 5, and that makes 1 minus 2, that's negative 1 plus 5 is 4. So the y number is 4, which means our vertex is at 1, 4. So here 1 for the x, and 4 for the y. That's where the vertex is. And our parabola opens up, so it'll look something like this. It is symmetrical, so the left side and the right side should be about the same width. And it looks something like this. So on the test, if we make a sketch like this and label all the key points, that's what the sketch is. And we have already confirmed it with the calculator, that here we have already done the calculator work, so we know that the educated guess confirms from the calculator, confirms what we have done by hand. So here once again is the vertex, and it's 0.99, which is 1, 1, 4. 1, 4 is the vertex, and that's exactly the same sketch. And that's it for this video. Thanks a lot for your time. Take care.